Hello everyone, it's Professor 095 back with another deck profile that I've been wanting to do for so long but I never get into it. But yeah, that's so... as you can see, something is gonna be very different today from my entire setup. Of course, I'm using my camera stand and like my selfie stick and whatnot, so yeah, you can see me in front of the camera, you can see me with my phone and whatnot. But yeah, so bear with me if my cameras if my like selfie stage just gonna like move left and right, but I just want to showcase to you like this deck profile as soon as possible. Now this is Viamence Bruce deck profile, so this is going to be something from that is Viamence Bruce support, final burst support has been released during set 9. But for this deck profile, I'm going to do like something a little bit different. So this is going to base off like I'm gonna mix off like a lot of like new stuff from festival collection as well. So perhaps for those like English players or maybe Bahasa players in the future, if Viamence Bruce ever comes out in the set, well, which already come out, but when festival booster arrives and whatnot, festival collection boosters arrive, this will be probably you want to follow the same build as I am, or you feel free to go and change whatever things that you feel like you want changing. But this is my own personal take on my Viamence Bruce deck. So that's about it. So the context of like, well, it's not really context per se, but like technically it's a context. I've got this Viamence Bruce support in like around like February when the set came out. So I just get into it, but I've never really done much of a deck profile around it. So I've never been playing like I started the D series with like buying the old Grade 3 Bruce, which is from like from the start decks. So because it's start states, because I was hoping that they might come out Gear Chronicle archetype in the future, which eventually becomes Chronojet. So I just buy Bruce for fun. So as time progresses, as time flew by, Bruce gets a new Grade 3 and he gets a new Grade 3 and changes a lot of playstyle since then. Alright, so but without further ado, let's get straight into the deck profile. But before that, if you do like what you're seeing here, please do like, subscribe, and keep in touch and keep updated with my latest releases on whatsoever in this channel of mine. So without further ado, I'm gonna straight into the right deck of this deck. So of the deck, so we have Diabolos Innocent Mats. So the skill is very generic for all starters. So the skill is that when this unit is being rolled upon, if you went second, you draw one card. So I got this very nice foiling with a Daybreak foil from the previous year's festival booster or festival collection. I think it's festival booster 2022, so it's quite nice. This is the box topper version, so yeah, it's kind of shame this is not a blackout version, because if it was a blackout version it would be much better, since I have a blackout sleeve anyway. But yeah, this is what he's do. So for the grade 1 is Diabolos Bat Steve. So Bat Steve's skill is that when this unit is placed on the Vanguard circle, you choose one card from your soul and call it out to the Rearguard circle, and you soul charge 1. So it's quite nice as well. So the second skill, Rearguard Continuous, when this unit is in the final rush state, this unit gets a 5k power. So he's a 15k booster and also a 15k attacker. So this is basically what he does. Alright, so after that we have Diabolos Anger Richard. So Anger Richard is the grade 2, the standard right line for everything, so nothing fancy. So this is the grade 2 of this Bruce right line. So when this unit is placed in the Vanguard circle, you choose one card from your soul and draw one card. So basically helps you to draw one. Okay, yeah, I forgot to try to clarify as well. So when you try to write Steve, you have to move it to the center back row rear guard. You cannot move to the left, or you can move to the right. Or on the front row rear guards, you have to move it to the center column rear guard circle. So that's Steve skill. I just want to clarify that. So perhaps some of you might be misunderstood, like calling where you can call your call your mat. Okay, so yeah. So second skill for Richard is that when you're in final rush, this unit gets a 5k power. So again, it's a 15k attacker, so he's swinging for 15k, so that's about it. Now of course, we are getting straight into the main ace of this deck, which is Diabolos, Viamence Bruce. So yeah, don't mind the lighting is a little bit reflective, but you get the point. Alright, so Viamence Bruce is the star and the highlight and the ace of this deck itself. So I will explain the skills. So first skill auto on the Vanguard Circle at the beginning of your battle phase. If all of your units all have Diabolos in its card name, you will enter until the end of your opponent's next turn. Until the end of your opponent's turn, next turn, you are in Final Rush. And if your opponent is grade 3 or greater, you become Final Burst instead. Now, Final Burst will be considered as the same as Final Rush, so you keep that in mind. Now, the second skill is that when this unit is attacking the Vanguard, you choose one of your if you're in Final Burst, you counterblast 1, you choose one of your entire columns with Diabolos, like one of your columns with Diabolos in its card name, and you stand all of them and they all get 5k power. So yeah, so basically what it does is that, let's say for example, so Steve will attack first, and like Steve with Bruce, and then you attack with Richard, and then with Bruce, a second skill, if you're in Final Burst, which will be like of your opponent is like grade 3 or greater, which means by the time you're in like going second and riding on the first Viamence Bruce, you can counterblast 1, and you can restand one column with your Diabolos and stand them, and they get 5k each for both of them. So keep in mind they have to all have to be Diabolos in their card names, right? So one thing you will find very different from like the old Bruce is that it really rely upon like Diabolos units as well. So there's a lot of like so old supports from Final Rush, such as like Marjorie, Proto-Bob Dragon, and etc. So they can't be used anymore in this support. Instead, this is going to be entirely different from the old Bruce playstyle as well. And instead of doing like minimum 5 attacks, from like Bruce's or like old Bruce skill, Violence Bruce, okay, in general you can do 4 attacks, but there's something's going to be like very extra when he gets deeper into the deck profile as it is. Now, the best thing about Viamence Bruce is that like in old Violence, like the old Bruce, Violence Bruce will require you to be going first in order for you to activate Final Rush by the time you're in turn 4, if I'm not mistaken. I kind of like lost track about like turns and whatnot, but like say that in the beginning of your at the beginning of your right phase, so if you go first and then your opponent's right to grade 3 and then it's your turn, so you stand and draw, and then at the beginning of your right phase you will enter Final Rush. So Final Rush is a keyword for Bruce, exclusively key for Bruce, in order for you to do attacks and enables the multi-attack and restands. Restands are multi-attack, so that's how it is supposed to be. So this is your 1 turn faster, and you can already activate some of the Final Rush abilities by then. So depending on what cards you play, so this is technically like 1 turn faster and earlier with the Final Rush. But then again, in this deck, Final Rush doesn't really do a whole lot, but there is something you can do, something you can do, but Final Burst is where the real kick comes in for this deck, right? So that's about it. So that's what the right deck is for Viamence Bruce for now. Okay, now we get straight into the grade 3s itself. Now grade 3s, of course, self-explanatory. I'm playing 3 copies of the Persona right of Viamence Bruce, instant 4 off, so that's a no-brainer. You have to keep it very consistent as well, so that's about it. I wouldn't want to explain more of this. Now after that, I'm playing 3 Diabolos Striker, if I'm not mistaken, Diabolos Striker Greg. Now Greg is a great addition to this deck in itself, because Greg's skill is that when you become Final Burst, and this is only in the auto, or in like auto and on the front row rearguard circle, so he has to be in the front row, he cannot be in the back row. when you enter final burst state, you Soul Blast 2 to counter charge 1, and he gets 5k until the end of turn. So basically, he will be swinging for like basically an 18k attacker, and you get to a CC1. Now, Counter Blast is kind of heavy in this deck, so if you have one card, which I'm going to get into, and Diabolos, Viamence Bruce is already like swinging already. Actually, by the way, there's a nickname we call Viamence Bruce is Vietnamese Bruce, so that's about it. So Purple Bruce or whatsoever. But yeah, I'm just gonna let that slide for a bit, like the jokes for a bit. So okay, now that aside, and Greg is very important in this deck because it allows you to like counter charge, thereby allowing you to do like a lot of like abilities. You have like place like room and like cost for you to do other abilities such as like Jamil, Eden, etc. Right? So and also like Mabel, which we're gonna get into like what she does. So I think it's a 3 for now. I would play 4, but I think I kind of like break a bit with this one. So I think 3 is technically fine. It's not that fancy, but I think 3 is fine because for the CCs and whatnot, and I don't want to break my entire hand so fast. Yeah, so that's about it. And then the grade 2s, that's the grade 3s for now. And then to the grade 2s, of course, also the main star. This is one of my favorite units in Diabolos, which is in Bruce series, is Diabolos Boys Eden. So Eden's skill is that continuous rearguard circle. When you're in final rush, this unit plus 5k, and during this turn, when this unit is stood by a card ability, he gains an extra crit. So he's amazing in Viamence Bruce as well, because this is where Bruce lethality comes from because of Eden. So he's an instant 4-off. And also the second skill is that auto rearguard circle when this unit attacks hits a vanguard. Is it? Now when this unit attack hits, right, doesn't matter that, if it hits the rearguard or the vanguard, you get to counter blast 1 and you choose one of your opponent's rearguard and retire it. So very good, very useful in a lot of situations. So Eden is also one of the biggest MVPs of like a lot of like Bruce decks as well. So instant 4-off, he's very important like in Viamence. So yeah, 15k attacker, and you restand, gets a crit, and also like retire on hit, so it's kind of nice, the whole package and whatnot. Alright, so because final burst is considered as final rush, thereby you can also like trigger his critical ability, so which is good as well. So now we're going straight into the grade 2s. We have Diabolos Knuckler Jamil. Okay, so Jamil is instant 4-off, and I'm gonna explain why by the skill. So the skill is that continuous vanguard rearguard skill. If in final burst, this unit gets 10k power and 5k shield, and also it has a small clause in there in the brackets. It says that it will last until it is also effective during your opponent's turn as well. So not only he is a 20k attacker and a 10k shield and an interceptor, he will also stay like this in this state during your opponent's turn. So let's say if your opponent wants to swing to Jamil, your opponent has to reach at least 20k to be able to hit Jamil, which is like super crazy. So it makes you like, it will give your opponents like probably wants to think twice before like attacking your rear guards, or like they wanted to have commit a lot by whether or not they want to waste their like high power attack on Jamil itself. But then again, Jamil is such a very great card as well. And also on the second skill, when this unit is placed on the rearguard circle, doesn't matter if it's from the deck, from the hand or whatsoever. When this unit is placed on the rearguard circle, if your vanguard is Viamence Bruce, so he's really name specific, and you counter blast 1 and you soul charge 1, and you choose one Diabolos from your soul, and with a grade 3 or less normal unit, Diabolos unit from your soul, and call it to a circle without and to a rearguard with like a rearguard circle without a unit. So this is what Jamil does. So he, by the cost of like counter blast 1 and like, well, technically you get soul charge 1, he can actually like feel the board as well. So it's quite good for like Jamil to be in this deck. So I'm kind of happy to to have a few, what do you say, what's the word for it? A board filler, you could say. So that's what he's supposed to do, and also like being like a great powerhouse for like the 10k power buff on like 10k on final burst, and also a 5k shield. So it's also very offensive and quite a defensive card at the same time, and it also gets to fill the board, so quite crazy for a double rare card as well. So yeah, that's about it. And also the third card, which is released in set 10, which is Diabolos Heavy Launcher and Patrick. So yeah, Patrick, I'm playing 3 copies of Patrick, so you can see, I don't know if you guys can see the FR foiling because of the lighting. So this is the FR. I think I should switch my lights off and you can see like how different it is. So hold on, I'm gonna like switch off the light. I'm not sure if this is going to be any better. But yes, you can see that you can. I think this is much better now. Okay, now the lighting is kind of off a bit, but but on the dark side, not on the bright side. Pun not intended, definitely. Alright, so you can see Patrick here in the FR. I just want to flex a little bit with this one. If you compare this with the usual double red Patrick. Okay, now flexing my foils is not the matter. Okay, so what I usually do with Diablo, so what Patrick does is that rear guard circle, if you're in final burst, this unit gets 10k power, so it's also like active on your opponent's turn as well. So he's also a 20k attacker and very like a 20k on the like opponent's turn as well. So this is a continuous skill if you're in final burst, right? And so the second skill that when this unit attacks a vanguard, if you're in final rush, okay, you soul blast one and you choose one of your opponent's rear guard and call it to the guardian circle. And if you are in final burst, you choose 2 instead of choosing 1. So what this card does is super amazing because it removes all of your opponent's like potential intercepts or like annoying rear guards out of the way. Then again, it doesn't really negate the shield value because like once you place them on the guardian circle, once you place the rear guards on the guardian circle, you also get to force the opponent to think whether or not they want to guard the specific vanguard. Let's say for example, Patrick is swinging you for 20k, and I'm dragging like one of his great tools to his front row to his 18k. Now he can have the choice whether or not he wants to guard the extra 5k or just take 1 damage. So he's also like a very good field remover as well. Then again, he cannot choose cards like that has resist, such as like Trick Star for example, right? But then again, Patrick is also very good for like removing like a lot of like a great interceptors or whatsoever, because by the time if you want to try to restand him, or if you want to try to, let's say for example, restand Eden, then you basically just remove the potential for your opponents to like using like high powered like high shield values on the board in order for you to guard, in order to like guard their vanguard. So it's quite good as well for Patrick to be like this good for Soul Blast 1 to remove technically a soft retire for the cost of Soul Blast 1. So yeah, that's about it. And now we are done with the great tools. We're going straight into the very most obvious. What is, oh no, okay, this is a different sleeve, but then again, my point still stands actually. You're going to play 4 of the perfect guards. So the perfect guards, okay, so just for the sake of this, video and sleeves, okay, so technically all the sleeves has to be the same. Okay, now good thing this is not in the tournament, or else I'm gonna get DQ'd because I have a different sleeve card. Okay, but then again, so we have to play 4 PGs. This is self-explanatory. I play 3 Arlims because Arlim is cute. I guess Arlim is waifu, so she's the best PG in the world for dark states. For me personally, of course. Jokes aside, that's not a joke. I meant it seriously. Okay, so I will play this in Bruce, obviously, because obviously I will have to play this in Chronojet. But I just played the 4 PGs just for fun. But the last PG, kind of a PG, but actually it's 3 PGs and 1 Blitz Order. So Elemental Centarium, Elementaria Sanctarium. Okay, so it's a Blitz order which is considered as a Sentinel, so you cannot play 5 Sentinels because this Blitz order is considered as a Sentinel as well. So the skill is that, and you can only place one, you can only put one of this card as well. So yeah, when your opponent, the skill is that for those of you who is not already familiar by then I feel like you guys should be familiar by now. If your Vanguard has a triple drive, you can you do not have to discard one card for the cost, right? So usually how PGs work is that you discard one card from your hand and it just blocks all the attack. But if your opponent has a triple drive, so you can negate the cost as well. So yeah, once you're done with this, once you're finished guarding using this Blitz order, you have to remove it. So that's about it. So one Elementary Sanctarium, I don't know, is that how it's pronounced? Sanctitude. Elementary Sanctitude. My bad. Alright, so the names are long, okay? Please forgive me. Cut me some slack, alright? So 3 Alims. Okay, for now, that's the PGs. Self-explanatory, just to guard all the attacks, big attacks and whatnot. Alright, so the next great ones I'm gonna play is Diabolos Madonna Mabel. Okay, now Mabel is very good as well, because she allows you that when she boosts, her skill is that when she boosts, you counter blast 1 and you give Bruce triple drive. So yes, and if you're in final rush, with the condition is that she's in the final rush. So let's say for example, if you go first with Viamence Bruce and you call Mabel, technically you're already in final rush, right, at the beginning of your battle phase. So she's also a Diabolos, so she can boost, and Viamence Bruce can swing for like 20k, counter blast 1 and triple drive, so which is kind of good. I dare not to play 4 because like I think 4 is way too much. I think 3 is okay for now. Then again, you really can't call her to like the rest of the other rear guards for the boosting, because it doesn't really reach the magic numbers and whatnot, because I want to make space for like a lot of magic numbers in this deck. So that's Mabel. Because she's a 7k booster, she's not like 8k like the rest of the other great ones. I mean, besides the perfect cards and whatnot. So yeah, that's Mabel for now. So Mabel is like a very good triple drive enabler at the cost of counter blast 1 while you're in final rush. So by the time you're riding your first grade tree, if you have Mabel, you can call it out and you just counter blast 1 and it's a 20k triple drive. And yeah, we'll see what happens from there on out. Alright, so the next great one card I have is actually like Trish, Diabolos Girls Trish. So Trish is also quite a very important card in this deck. So basically what she does is that on the continuous skill in the rear guard and the guardian circle, if you're in final rush, she gets 5k power and 5k shield. So she's a 13k booster, 30k attacker, and also like a 10k shield, which also pairs well with Viamence Bruce skill is that the final burst or the final rush lasts until your opponent's next turn. So she can basically just go for 23k and yeah, can stop a lot of like a very early rush attacks against Bruce if you haven't reached like final burst yet, so which is quite good. You can play 3, I think. I won't play 4, but I think 3 should be enough. Then again, it's this is just my take on my own deck. You can feel free to change it. And then last but not least, this is the last great one I'm playing. So this is Diabolos Girls Heidi. Alright, so Heidi is also a set 10 card as well. So Heidi's skill is that when this unit boosts, if you're in final rush during this turn, she gets 5k, right? So she's also like a good 5k booster, and the good thing about this is that she will also be consistently like swinging for like a 13k booster, and also when you try to restand it with +5 and then she boosts as well, she gets a 5k, so which is kind of like quite nice. So she's a potentially like an 18k attacker if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, she's also like a same class as what's her name? Megan as well. Yeah, Megan as well. So every time she boosts, she gets 5k. So if you restand, she attacks. She boosts, she gets another 5k. So she's an 18k booster in general. So it's quite good, quite big. So quite nice on that part. Alright, so And now that we are done with the grade 3s and the grade 2s and grade 1s, we get straight into the triggers itself. So for now we have 4 Diabolos Chill Girls My Mind, which is 4 critical triggers. Also Diabolos in its card name, self-explanatory because I want to maximize as much of Diabolos as I can. So this is a very Diabolos centric deck, as you can see. Alright, so next one will be Diabolos Girls Natalia. Natalia is also actually a front trigger, but the skill is that if your opponent's grade 3 is grade 3 or greater, she gets a 5k shield. So technically speaking, she's a 20k shield, so which is quite nice. So yeah, so that's about it. That's how she rolls. Some people will play 8 crits because they want to go full offensive with Bruce. There's nothing wrong with that actually, technically speaking. So if you want to play 4 fronts Natalias for a higher shield value, by all means go ahead. She's also a Diabolos as well, but I think 8 crits will still be as fine. But personally for me, I would love to play Natalia because she's a Diabolos. She is a 20k shield, which will be very helpful in late games on avoiding rush and whatnot. And so that's about it, right? So the next triggers I have, which is the Q triggers, which is 4 of Diabolos Girls Ariana. So Ariana is a 4 of the Diabolos heals. 15k shields. That's about it for heals, which is self-explanatory. Alternatively, I used to play the effect triggers such as Charmaine. So Charmaine is a skill that when she is placed on the Guardian Circle, if your opponent's Vanguard grade is higher than yours, she gets a 10k shield. Mainly because I played her last time, mainly because it was meant to avoid strike decks and whatnot. She gets a 10k shield, but then again, as time goes by, as I've place tested a lot, she's not really much useful in a lot of situations. So I've decided, and I did lend this deck to my friend on the previous tournaments, and they were complaining that it's not really useful most of the time, and if they were short of the 5k in order to cut the attack. So I can understand where it comes from. So I can understand the perspective. So I tried to revert back into the usual 15k Diabolos Ariana. So that's about it. So that's the trigger lineup. One last thing, second last thing actually, which is this is the only non-Diabolos triggers that I have. We have Riley, the draw trigger, the effect draw, which is very useful as well because she's a 10k shield, so she gets an extra 5k provided if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher. So it's a 5k shield. So I will play her definitely. Definitely a 3-off. I wouldn't play a lot of draws in this deck, but draws are really necessary for you to get to your pieces and whatnot. So and get to your high defenses and whatnot. Alright, so last but not least, this is the card I got I got for today. So that's the reason why I want to do this this deck profile. So this is not the new Red OT. We call it the Red OT in the new Festival Booster Collection. So when you draft check this OT, he has a skill that says that you choose one of your standing rearguards and give it the ability that at the end of the battle that this unit attack, you stand one rearguard. So you just give a extra attack, so basically a restander for most decks for this one. And then if you could not choose a standing rearguard for this effect, you choose one card from your hand and you just call it. So and kind of nice as well because Valnot is basically for in this deck, Viamence Bruce usually attacks for 4 times, but if you drive check these triggers, you can essentially attack for 5 times in this in this deck as well. But even if you drive check it in the early game, you can potentially call, for example, let's say if you drive check these cards during your grade 1 or grade 2 turns, you can choose a grade 3 from your hand and just call it and just swing all the way in. So this OT is really good for this deck, mainly because of one thing. And most of you already predicted this is because I want to pair it with Eden. So Eden swings, let's say for example, Eden swings for 15k, so Viamence Bruce attacks and I drive check the OT. Sorry, my camera is kind of like choppy here. Alright, so basically if I drive check this OT, I basically I stood the Vanguard by Viamence Bruce skill. I can give the 100 million to Eden, and then with Eden's skill, since he is stood by a card effect from Viamence Bruce, so he gets a crit. So it's like 100 million, and then with the end of the battle, he gets to restand, and then he can swing to 100 million. So basically, Eden can swing for like 200 million and 4 crits in general. I mean like in total. So basically speaking, he will swing for 100 million with double crit, then you stand at 100 million and with double crit. So you get the idea where it comes from. So this is just my own personal build. You can play the blue OT, or alternatively you can play the Cray OT, but I would not like the Cray OT anymore this deck. I want it to be kind of like a little bit more offensive. But you can also play the Darkseid's OT. I feel like the Darkseid's OT for me is not really that impressive anymore, because like most of the time with Viamence Bruce, yeah, your opponent's gonna like PG the extra crits and whatnot. So with the 30k, like 30k double crits, so which your opponent's more likely to PG. So I felt like that's not really that necessary. I felt like this OT is way more scarier for me personally. But okay, it's up to your. It's up to your interpretation, or like up to your decisions on how it's supposed to be, and that's about it, right? And that's just my deck profile in general. But also I would like to offer you some alternatives if you feel like there are some of the cards here that you don't like playing. Perhaps you say you don't like to play Patrick, perhaps you can play Megan instead. Megan is also a very good Diabolos card as well. So Diabolos Madonna Megan is that when she attacks, when this unit attacks, if she's in final rush, she gets a 10k power. She gets 10k power until the end of the turn. And so she can swing for 20k, and then if you restand her, she can get to swing for 30k. So it's quite nice. So she's basically a 30k attacker at the end of the, during this like best entire turn. So really good. If you want to play Megan, you can play like instant 4 off or like 3 off, depending on your room. Depending on like how many cards you want to actually like play in this deck. But for me, alternatively you can play Leonard as well. So Leonard is also like a 15k, which he's a continuous like a 15k attacker. You're in final rush, and when he he attacks and you're in final rush, so he can swing for like the entire column as well. So he can just attack like the front row and the back row as well. So, and also the skill is that when this unit, or the auto skill is that when this unit hits, doesn't matter if it hits like the rearguard or the vanguard whatever, you soul charge one, and then you choose one, and if your vanguard is Viamence Bruce, you choose one card from your soul and just get called into a circle without a rearguard. But then again, Leonard is not very that useful for me personally, because the second skill requires you to be in Viamence Bruce and not Viamence Bruce. So yeah. So people will usually play it for the first skill for the 15k and attack the entire column, but that's not what I'm supposed to play in general. You can also play like a grade 3 what's his name, Julian as well. So Julian is also like a great addition to this deck, provided if you have the cost for it, of course. Like I said, this deck eats a lot of CB every turn, so that's how it is. But then again, if you're not really familiar with what Julian does, so when Julian attacks, he counter blasts 1, and for each card in your damage zone, he gets 2k power. And if you have a Vanguard with Bruce in his card name, doesn't matter if it's like whatever Bruce, like the old Violence Bruce and the new Viamence Bruce or whatsoever, for every 2 cards in your damage, you get to soul charge 1, and you call up to the same amount you soul charge to a empty rearguard circle. So that's how it is supposed to be. So let's say for example Julian attacks and you say you have 4 damage, so counter plus 1, so he's get like 4 times 2, 8. He's basically swinging you for 21, and let's say, and you can soul charge 2, because like for every 2 of your rearguards, like 2 of your damage, you can get to soul charge 1, and then you just call them to an empty rearguard circle, which is quite nice. So yeah, I like Julian, but then again, you have to make room for it, and also it causes like a lot of CB. So if you restand him by Viamence Bruce, you can also technically just do it again. But then again, I really don't play Julian in this deck because I can play this like in like the old Viamence Bruce, or I can play it in the Great Cold Bruce as well. Yeah, so that's about it. Another card which I can also recommend to play is Stephanie. So Stephanie is like super amazing in this deck as well sometimes. So if you're not very familiar with what Stephanie does, Stephanie is a rearguard continuous that if you're in Final Rush, all of your other units in the same column as units plus 5k. So technically speaking, and it also applies to your opponent's turn. So technically speaking, if you put it behind your Vanguard on Viamence Bruce, so your Viamence Bruce basically becomes an 18k Vanguard. So it's going to be giving your opponent a little bit hard time for them to like swing to your Vanguard. But the reason why I do not want to play Stephanie in this deck, well, it's really optional. If you want to play 3, it's fine. If you want to play 4, it's fine. But for me, I really don't want to play it into this deck because if you're facing like a lot of like decks that bot decks or retires a lot, such as like Andiva, Chronojet, Messiah, so she's not really that useful. Because like judging by the meta right now, we've seen a lot of Andivas and like people will always target Stephanie first. So I would not like to play Stephanie in this deck. So sorry Stephanie, you do not have the room, you do not have the the good skills and whatnot. You can also try to play Ivanka, but Ivanka also costs you a counter blast as well. So basically what Ivanka does is that when this unit boosts and the boosted unit hits the Vanguard, you counter blast one and choose the boosted unit, the bot deck, and you draw one and you give one of your other units plus 5k. Yeah, and you give one of your during that turn plus 5k, right? So Ivanka is also kind of nice, but CB is already a lot in this deck, but you can try to put it into it. So yeah, that's about it. And last but not least, if you do not have Eden, you can also try Diantore. I think that's how his name is supposed to be. Diantore is a skill that if you do not have Eden, you can combine it with Jamil as well. In order for him to like basically, you use Jamil's skill, you counter plus 1, soul plus 1, and then you just call it out. And then you just call, if you manage to soul charge it, and then you call it, and then you can just use the skill. So basically what he does is that when this unit is placed on the rear, from the soul to the rear guard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Bruce in his card name, for every 2 cards in your damage zone, this unit plus 10k. So if you have 4 damage, he's basically swinging for 30k already. So which is kind of like very amazing as well. One thing I want to like to clarify as well is that this card and Julian doesn't really require you to be in Final Burst or Final Rush. So you know what it means, right? So you can basically just like attack your opponents like early game, like rush them as much as possible and whatnot, right? So yeah, I think that's how it's supposed to be. So I would really like to showcase like I don't want to make this like be a super long video as it already is, because like I'm already recording for the past 7 minutes. I have never done a deck profile this long before, but this is how that's how I'm supposed to roll, and I just want to like really want to like get straight into how it's supposed to, like the playstyle supposed to be. So let's say for example this is your grade 3, and then let's say for example you want the Bruce, let's say you want to have Eden on your field, and let's say you have Patrick. So it's very straightforward. This is a very easy deck to pick up. It's a very easy deck to learn with. So basically, let's say if you're in like a grade 3 turn, you're in Final Burst, so basically he's going to swing for like 28, and then the opponent's gonna swing, and then you CB1, like say counter plus 1 as well. Then you get to stand, and both of them gets 5k. So if you drive check, let's say for example, I get to drive check the OT, and then I draw 1, and then I drive check blank perhaps. And then if you have like Mabel for example, so if you have like say Mabel on your back row, you can just basically do a counter blast as 1. You can just basically just attack for like 20k, then you counter blast 1 in order for you to like get a triple drive. So the third check probably perhaps is a draw. I don't know, you want to power it to Heidi as well, then you can swing. Okay, sorry. Then you can. But then if you have to drive check the red OT, so you have 100 million double crit, and then end of the turn you can stand and then just attack with the double crit as well. So 100 million double crit. So it's kind of like scary. That's how I roll. But if like say for example, like if Patrick is here as well, let's say in like hypothetical situations, you want to say you can attack with Patrick first and then you Soul Blast 1 to remove your opponent's intercepts, and then you can swing with Eden, and then you can swing with Bruce, and then you counter Blast 1, and then you can just like, you know, stand Eden and stand Heidi as well, and that's how it is supposed to be. Alright, so yeah, it's a very straightforward deck to play with, right? It's not that hard to learn, unlike most of the decks. Cough cough. Drudgel or Solaron. Okay, right. This thing aside, final words on my deck. Okay, so final words on Viamence Bruce. Viamence Bruce is not that bad. It's honestly like quite a really viable deck to play with. He's also very a very good, fun, exciting deck to play. So, and he's not that expensive as well. So if you're really interested in Bruce already, or like you're interested in like the old Bruce, or you're like interested in Dark States, this is the right deck I would like to recommend you if you want to start like a Vanguard, for example. So this is the perfect build for your, like not perfect build. I would not call it perfect. It have some improvements, but this is already perfect enough for me up until this point. So if you really want to get into this deck, I would feel free to implore you to try this deck out and test it for yourself. It's going to be very fun. So yeah, that's about it. I've been recording for 40 minutes straight. I will end this video right here, right now. So I will see you guys on the next deck profile, I don't know, next video, and I'll see you guys next time. This has been Professor Zero and signing out. I'll see you next time.